send an email to the principal. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. And we are at 2.02, Honoring Excellence. Oh, he's hiding behind the pillar there. I couldn't see it.
I'm
Welcome.
here. Yes, thanks for having me here to open things up. We have some second graders from Epic Elementary with us tonight. Would you guys want to come up here and stand kind of by the podium? Look at this trophy this young man has. Oh, is that you're up there? There you are. I see you. So this is Miss Bogards and Miss Torres. They're second grade classes, some of them. They all couldn't make it tonight, but they represented the group that was a Battle of the Brains finalist, top 20 finalist. We had the students from the Peak program last month. We wanted to make sure to get these guys recognized tonight because they are so deserving. I'll read a quick summary of this. We want to recognize the second grade classes at Epic Elementary who late last fall were named a top 20 finalist in the Metro-wide Battle of the Brains competition hosted by Burns and McDonnell. To be named in the top 20 was especially exciting this year as a record number of proposals were submitted. I believe, neighborhood of 800 proposals? So pretty remarkable. Their project, titled Engineering Ever After, received wonderful reviews by the judges, and the classes had the amazing opportunity to be honored at the award ceremony at Union Station back in December, and it was a great event. Yeah, you guys have a lot to be proud of, so congratulations. Congratulations, guys. I'll be sure to get a picture of you guys right after this, okay? Again, want to thank Miss Bogards, Miss Torres for being here with Epic tonight, and let's give them a big round of applause. Is that my trophy?
No.
I thought that was for us.
Come on.
Oh, well, good job, guys. Congratulations. Awesome. I might have him just do the rest of the recognition. Well, it's a big night for Epic, and Dr. Michelle Schmitz, their principal, is with us tonight because we wanted to take this opportunity to also recognize them as being named an Apple Distinguished School. And I have the award for 2019 through 2022, so this is a 3-year designation. I'll read a couple of notes about this award. Apple Distinguished Schools are centers of leadership and educational excellence that demonstrate Apple's vision for learning with technology, and they believe Epic is one of the most innovative schools in the world, and that is true because they are one of only 470 schools, not only in the United States, but in 34 countries. So pretty remarkable. This designation is reserved for schools that meet criteria for innovation, leadership, and educational excellence and demonstrate a clear vision of exemplary learning environments. So Dr. Schmitz is here. She also wanted me to recognize her staff. Several of her staff members are here. Would you guys like to stand and be recognized? Let's give them a big round of applause. Good job. Congratulations. And I also have awards for your two classes and the EPIC for the Apple Distinguished. So congratulations and thanks for being here. And then finally, exciting few weeks here. It's in LPS, we officially celebrate Board Recognition Month, and you had a few tokens of appreciation there at your seats. Did a little different approach this month, a little more grassroots. Mr. Rothman, I know Lewis and Clark submitted. There may be 600 cards made by students.
I'm gonna pull an all-nighter.
So we appreciate the schools for really responding to this and submitting to us and then on to you these tokens of appreciation. I thought I would read a quick memo from the state. Missourians benefit every day from the dedicated energies and countless hours devoted by a group of more than 3,600 men and women from communities across the state. These public servants are elected by local constituents and do not receive compensation for their tireless efforts. They are the local school boards of Missouri. During the week of February 9th through 15th, which we recognize them this week as part of our board meeting, communities across the state will honor the dedicated service of their local boards of education during School Board Recognition Week. The goal is to build awareness and understanding of the important function an elected Board of Education plays in communities and schools. All Missouri citizens are asked to recognize the important contributions of these men and women and focus attention on the vital role these public officials play in the education of Missouri's children. So we have a great crowd with us tonight, a great opportunity to give our awesome 7 members of our school board a big round of applause. And if you missed it last month, they made the announcement that we would not be having an election as 3 candidates or 3 stepped up and signed up for the board. Only 3 needed, so we will not have an election in April. So we'll do this again next February. So with that, that concludes Honoring Excellence for tonight.
Thank you, Dallas. On behalf of the board, it's truly our honor and our privilege to serve on the board. We appreciate the gestures and the gifts and the recognition, but even without that, it's quite an honor to serve the community in this capacity, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that. So thank you all for coming out and acknowledging us as well. And that brings us to approving our agenda. And if everyone who was just honored would stick around, we're going to take a break here in a few minutes so we can come out and meet you personally here in just a minute. We have to take care of a little business first. We have a motion on the agenda.
I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott? Yes. David?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie? Yes. Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. Before we do, just note that anyone who wants to address the board, when we come back under the public comment section, there are blue cards on the table right outside that door. So if anyone wants to address the board, fill one of those out, hand it to Dr. Tucker, myself, or another board member. We'll make sure you get your chance to address us when we come back at 7:20.
Mailman. What?
Even better.
So. Yeah, but see, my mom's, we get her moved into Norterre.
Stack.
The hospital.
What'd I do?
Give me a hard
Stage 4 cancer. I know that. You told me that. Huh? And then my.
All right, started back up. And I lied, and there were no blue cards sitting out there for anyone to fill out. So if anyone wants to address the board, just kind of, I just looked and there weren't any. I think somebody stole all our blue cards.
I thought maybe D.
There were some when I went. They are very
I think
They are clearly
they have
popular.
disappeared. So anybody who wants to address the board, a little wave. Seeing no one, we will move right into the consent agenda. And our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. We have a motion.
Move the board approve the consent agenda, items 3.0 to 3.6.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yeah, we'll move right into reports of administration. Dr. Tucker, you want to lead through those?
Yeah, first one is 4.01 Academic Services Report, and I'll fill in for Dr. Heidi this evening. I appreciate her and her team putting that report together that is submitted to you this evening, along with several program evaluations around athletics, our BIST program, our fine arts department, as well as counseling services. And really, this evening's report includes a couple things, but that work is really all tied to our strategic plan that we adopted back in September. And as you'll recall, we shared with you that Scott Fuller was in district in December and was surprised, impressed, whatever word you want to fill in there, in respect to the fact that we are moving that work forward. And so we continue to do that on a weekly basis with information included in that report around career readiness, literacy programming for the district as we place that in place. I've had some conversations with Team Liberty as to what that will look like. Early learning opportunities and assessing this year of expanding that program with our 4% funds and looking to subsequent years and what that might look like, as well as caring for the non-academic needs of our students in partnerships with groups like the Assistance League. So I encourage you to take a look through that, but also open it up to our academic services team, Dr. Dixon-Seahorn, Dr. Moore, Dr. Westfall, anything that you all want to add to the academic services report this evening. Any questions around the academic services report that I can point to the three of them on? Oh, yeah, Dr. Moore.
Athletic report, the numbers that you'll see in that over the 18-19 school year, since we have not finished this year, we've always been a year behind. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight that we felt we wanted to share with you is the middle level sports number so far without spring sports. So I want to say thank you to all of you for supporting that expansion. As of right now, it looks like 50 to 70 more students at the Blue Jay schools, feeders, will have had the opportunity to participate, and around 100 students at the Eagle feeder schools. Well, additional students will have the opportunity to participate this year because of that expansion. So thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to do that for our students.
I know that there's still plenty of work to do on program evaluation process and all that, but I did note that fine arts had started to fold in the academic, cultural, and entrepreneurial, personal, professional. How do we use those things and evaluate what students are getting from fine arts to achieve those objectives? So
I didn't ask David to say that either, but thank you for saying that. Because what we've started seeing in some of those preliminary conversations around program evaluation is how we can not only link that to our continuous improvement model, but then at the same time, is there a role that the graduate profile fits? And so we've seen a couple of departments on their own taking that initiative to problem solve through that. And so the two to make note of, the fine arts department, as you mentioned, but then also library and media services, and how they latch on to the graduate profile. So envision whether it's academic or operations, each of our teams linking up to that graduate profile that then really systematizes this whole piece. So that's a relatively new development, and as they've been tinkering with that, for lack of a better word, they've pushed emails and said, hey, what do you think about this? So it's kind of exciting to see that working its way throughout the entire system. Good point.
Requires a little bit of fresh thinking about things from a different vantage.
Little creativity to for
Figure
sure.
out how that all fits together, but
And thinking about, like, for example, transportation and nutrition services and some of those support staff categories that then are thinking through how to develop those skills and dispositions through their work in their interactions with kids. So I think there's a lot more to be done around
I did also notice in the fine arts evaluation in particular, there's starting to fold in some equity pieces. And I just personally really appreciate the look at culturally sensitive choices in curriculum.
that. Other comments or questions for our academic services team?
Yeah, I don't remember if it was last year that we mentioned this or the year before, but I like seeing the unduplicated participation on the high school athletic to make sure we understand how many people are truly in. So I appreciate that. Thank you. That's awesome. That's great.
And that's actually a good comment in respect to how we're trapping or capturing our work around market value assets. In that there's really two counts. There's those that are doubling up or tripling up, but then there's also that individual head count. So we were talking about that earlier this afternoon, actually, in trying to trap kind of a baseline of what those figures look like. So we'll likely have multiple numbers to look like and clarify that as to what that looks like. Okay. Again, thank you to Academic Services. Next up is our finance report, Ms. Cindy Sullivan.
Thank you, Dr. Tucker. We have 2 donations to recognize tonight. A donation of volunteer hours valued at $1,000 from Texas Instruments Foundation to assist with the purchase of a dog outfit for Shoal Creek. And I know you're going to want to know what that is, right?
No.
I had to look it up.
These guys could tell us.
You know?
Gaga, the game, Gaga pit? Gaga ball.
Gaga ball.
It's an octagonal pit, right? Play with the ball. Kinder, gentler version of dodgeball. That about right?
Most of the time.
until it gets out of control.
Exactly. So there are some rules how you have to hit the ball so you don't throw it. You kind of hit it with your hands instead of throwing it. That's where the kinder, gentler comes in. More to come on that, I'm sure.
A board retreat, maybe? We might have to demonstrate that at some point.
And the second donation is a donation of game jerseys valued at $1,730.75, and game day ties valued at $1,426.87 from Chris for that LNH. We'd like to thank both of those folks for assisting us with the purchases. Other things I'd like to report out or make note of in my report are on the operating funds graph. Last month, we noted that the operating funds fell below the same level at this time last year due to slow collections in property tax revenue. And I would like to point out that those have popped back up and we're getting closer to on pace for what we would expect to do this time next year. So things are coming in strong. It will play out as we had projected. Also, the Audit and Finance Committee did review financial statements and did not have anything for review this month. They will have a meeting next month on March 23rd, which is Monday night at 5:30 here in this room. So, if you would like. Also, I would like to point out that next month we will be starting budget conversations with the preliminary revenue conversations. So, putting it on the budget season from here on out. Then in April, we'll do the expenditures. May, we'll see the budget. It's hard to believe we're talking about it. And the last thing, we are still following some legislative bills that are out there, specifically for me, property tax and assessed valuation legislation that is still out there being proposed is what I'm following, because that would really hit us hard if
Questions on the finance report this evening? Next up then, 4.03, Human Resources, Dr. Vogelaar.
Thank you very much. We've uploaded a report. From that report, a couple of items. One, there's an extensive write-up on our Grow Your Own Teachers program. As you know, I've talked a lot about the teacher pipeline and what we and other school systems are doing to advocate for and bring our own students to choose our profession of education. And under that umbrella of a broader program is this program specifically designed to provide financial assistance to students of color who want to choose education as their career, and that is to provide up to 4 scholarships or loan forgiveness programs to those students who choose education as a profession. So thank the Rosecrans, Dr. Dixon Seaborn, and the entire steering committee of people who labor really all year long. You see the timeline there, all year long, to identify and reward those students who have expressed interest in education as a career. Second thing I want to draw your attention to is the Team Liberty update that's there. We're in the season where we're having conversations about salary schedules. We had our last meeting February 12th. Our next one is March 5th. And then the board meeting, of course, on March 24th. The timeline that we're trying to stick with is a recommendation of Dr. Tucker that will allow you to have first read consideration of those proposals in the March board meeting with action in April. The state of that timeline, it will allow us to make kind of contract amendments before the school year making those salary adjustments. Middle of that. Additionally, Team Liberty is going to be sending out a survey, a staff climate survey. We survey our staff a lot, so we try to be very careful and prudent about when we do that and what questions we ask. But the goal of it is really very important. And it's just to help us ascertain data from our employees, their workforce, their quality of work-life balance. There's other items there. If you have any questions, we'd like to answer those, but that's the HR report for this evening.
Any questions around the HR department?
No, on the Grow Your Own, just appreciate those mentors stepping up to help out those students. I think it's a huge part of the program, and appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, I think the financial amount alone isn't enough to sustain somebody matriculating college, but the professional development supports, the mentor supports, knowing that there's a future employer that's invested in their success makes a big difference. And the last board meeting, we had a chance to have a conversation with Whitley and just see bright kids, the right kids in education. It's fun to just walk that path.
Thank you, Dr. Vogelaar. Next up, 4.04 Operations, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Just a few items to highlight off the report. First, the Health Services Department, in partnership with Clay County Health, has conducted over 5,000 dental screenings for elementary students. Just appreciate the work in that program. Also, Nutrition Services is kind of implementing a pilot program with Shared Table that's, I think, in 2 or 3 schools at the moment. They're looking to scale that out over time. That's really if you have some unopened food products you can put on the table, and hopefully somebody else will grab it to minimize waste. And then last, just to highlight, the Security Department is in partnership with some high school students producing a anti-vaping video and working with Springio, which is our bully reporting program that we use, and using that to share out to the middle school students. So I'm proud of that work as well. Last, just a quick construction update. Liberty High School, the Performing Arts Center, is all right in, making great progress on the interior. We're looking to schedule a tour in March, so we'll bring you guys into that building at that time. And then Liberty North is pretty much finished up. They're just doing punch list items to have all the exterior finish work here done in the coming weeks. With that, I'm back to take any questions.
Just 2 comments. So congrats to the transportation team for the huge, 92% on the first round of passing the buses is pretty impressive. And then I know Nutrition Services does a great job of minimizing waste, and not a whole lot to go around, but I thank them for continuing to look for other opportunities. I think Share Table is a great opportunity. So appreciate that.
Other operations questions or comments? Under the superintendent's report, a couple of items to add. We hosted this afternoon at Epic Elementary a U.S. House of Representatives member, Sam Graves. So appreciate him being here and several of his staff in the Kansas City offices, but then also from Washington, D.C. So we had a great learning round conversation with him and around the work that we're doing, not only at Epic, but within Liberty Public Schools as well. This Thursday, we will be sharing with districts around the region at a Kaufman meeting tied around the conversation around how we expand real-world learning opportunities. A couple of key components to that conversation is our district definition, which is still under development, as to what a real-world learning definition looks like. For us, it might be a little bit different than our colleagues across the region in that we're really looking at it holistically from pre-K through grade 12 and what that looks like through authentic experiences, through projects, through problem-based opportunities in partnership with clients that then culminate upon exit of high school with not only the skills and dispositions to be career ready, college ready, but at the same time with that market value asset, or what we're defining as that +1 experience. So we're looking forward to hearing from districts across the region as to what they're considering, but then also what we're looking at. Fast forward to the month of May, end of May, around the 26th, 27th, we will present a proposal, a grant application to the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation in and around round 1 of real-world learning work, with year 1 to begin next calendar year, or school calendar year, albeit we know that it is part of our strategic plan work. And so we're off and running with the help of our academic services team, our high school folks, but then also elementary, as they're exploring and taking stock of those real-world learning opportunities that we already offer at the elementary level. Ms. Reed is not here this evening, but wanted to point out and express appreciation to her for attending the legislative forum that was hosted by the Missouri School Boards Association. She brought back a gift for everyone, which is the program booklet that you have in front of you. If you'll kind of thumb through the first couple of pages, the remaining piece highlights some of the legislative areas that we're tracking and monitoring this spring session. Cindy mentioned a couple that have implications on finance. We appreciate groups like the Missouri School Boards Association, Missouri Association of School Business Officials, Missouri Administrators Association, as well as a variety of teacher groups for advocating on behalf of public education. And we stay in touch with those groups regarding updates, but then also providing them information in and around impact of legislation on our local schools. One in particular that we worked on this week was in and around a charter proposal that has a unique twist to it, and that is specifically around a transition high school that opens up the door for open enrollment across districts, but it has a unique focus in terms of providing students that are in high school that are experiencing substance abuse issues or some type of a unique circumstance around addiction, the opportunity to enroll in those charter schools. And so what we've done is provide some information to some of those teacher groups, administrator associations, but then also directly to our legislators in and around the work that we do in Liberty Public Schools to come around those students, provide support, but then also support for their families. In addition to that bill, there's another charter bill that has to do with equitable funding, particularly tied to the St. Louis and Kansas City regions. We're working with our local legislators on that in terms of the implication that it has on all districts as we navigate this legislative session. So we'll continue to provide updates as the session progresses. A couple of items to make you aware of. We start next week with our State of the District meetings. I believe we kick off on Monday at Ridgeview. I appreciate Dallas and Lynn Martin for assisting in scheduling those. We will push out in advance a presentation with a voiceover from me in terms of that district update, and then be on site at every single one of our schools, as well as each of our departments, operations departments, over the course of the next several weeks. So we're taking the show on the road as far as opportunity to connect face-to-face, as well as answer questions that people might have within our system. In March, we'll have a couple of other events that are in partnership with the Liberty Education Foundation. The Hope Awards actually are at the end of this month, February 25th and 27th. In March, the community breakfast is scheduled for March 10th. So we look forward to providing a district update at that event as well. Those are my additions this evening, but would certainly entertain any questions from the board. concludes the administration reports.
Move on to unfinished business. 5.01 board policy revisions.
You are accustomed to seeing board policy revisions or updates that are pushed to us from the Missouri School Boards Association. The ones that you see this evening are ones that we've been pulling forward for review, primarily from our library media services crew, as they look at how we not only approve instructional materials, but then how we also reauthorize or redistribute various materials. So they're working on those pieces. These are presented to you this evening for first read. We'll have time to continue to look at them over the course of the next several weeks and bringing them back to you at our March board meeting for final consideration. Someone mentioned earlier the value or the appreciation of our library media services team for pulling in equity. I believe that's the intent around this. And so in terms of looking at systems that we have in place for selecting materials, but then also reevaluating materials through that equity lens is an invaluable approach across our entire system. So we'll leave that with you for opportunity to provide feedback. That's really just an update item unless there are questions or comments from you.
All right. 5.02 technology device selection.
So we broached this topic at our last study session and shared with you the proposal that we would be bringing forward to you this evening for your consideration in refreshing our one-to-one devices across the system pre-K through grades 12. So you have a good sense of what that looks like from our study session conversation. I want to express appreciation to Beth Heidi in Academic Services, as well as Steve Anderson in Operations, Trey Kotzer, along with a variety of staff, teachers that assisted in getting this proposal across the finish line to present to you this evening. We'll turn it over to Steve to provide an overview, and we've also asked Cindy from the finance side of things, because this doesn't work without funding, to provide a little bit of an overview of what that looks like out of Fund 4. So Steve and Cindy?
Sure, thank you. And I just echo appreciation to Dr. Heidi and the leadership of this. And really it was about a year and a half worth of work and bringing a lot of folks together to the table to come up with this plan. And so really at the end of this process and going through determining what made sense kind of on a go-forward basis, when fully implemented the new plan, really we're moving away from Chromebooks and moving more to all the Apple products. And K2 would end up with iPads, which they presently have. The biggest change is grades 3 through 8. They would move from Chromebook to iPads, and those iPads would have the integrated keyboard systems in it, and then 9, 12 would all be on the MacBook Airs. Teachers and administrators would still be on that same program. So again, the biggest change is moving away from Chromebooks, and then we all are also able to go to an extra year on the lease. We felt comfortable with going with the Apple products that we could extend into the 4th year, which obviously brings added value into the program. I don't know if you're we can speak a little bit to the terms of the lease, but other than that, the program itself, I think we intend to roll this out this May and April for staff, and then in August for all the students who receive their devices as we go through the new program.
As Steve indicated, it is a 4-year lease with a 0% interest rate because it is a bank qualified lease. Great that Apple offers that for us over the term. Devices. And that total cost will have a payment yearly of $2.1 million. The 36-cent levy generates about $3.8 million a year. So that leaves us with a little bit of an excess between 1.1 and 2 which is used to support other technology items in the capital plan. On the table for next year, we have over $800,000 in capital items to be spent at the 36th levy and support the infrastructure. And it also leaves room for growth as more students will need to acquire more devices. The levy covers all of that. And Apple's very easy to deal with. We feel very good about it.
So the 4 year as opposed to the 3 years, does that mean that we're taking the same devices and spreading the cost over a 4th year? That means we've got to get them to last 4th year and have some replacement as needed.
And I know I was involved a little bit in the discussion of the ability for the devices to last. Chromebooks, that was a concern. They did not seem to last 4 years, but the Apple devices historically have lasted. That's why we felt good spreading it out over the 4 years. And the remainder of that levy to support technology and infrastructure. That we
These are leased, so at the end of the 4 years, devices go back to
No,
Apple.
we own a dollar buyout on this lease.
Okay, so
And
that
then-
brings me to my next question, which is, since we're now at 4 years, have you thought about your device, as long as you take care of it as a freshman, and you have it all the way through, and you take it all the way?
We are prohibited from sending it with them as they graduate. So what we do, we turn around and we resell them. We've got-
Colleges do that.
I'm sorry?
Colleges do that. They do the 4 year and then they graduate.
I'm sure it's built into.
It's free at college.
It's free. It's free.
Parents are
I'm
paying
putting
for
kid
that,
number
right?
6 to college right now. I get it. Okay, but we can't. It's not that simple.
It's not this.
We have, we've explored a little bit, and are going to explore when we do sell them, usually we sell them in bulk and mass, is if there's a way before we do that to make them available. It's a little complicated, and we'll take some time to kind of think that through, but we've had some conversations around that.
I'm just thinking also ways to.
Take care of them.
Okay.
Other questions, comments, discussion? Anything to add, Trey? You're back there sitting quietly, but again, thank you to Trey and his team. If you need to know anything about the device, Trey's your guy in terms of the specifics of it. But again, thank you to them for their work in putting this proposal together. So, a lot of the excess, as Cindy shared, that's available to us out of capital funds will then be utilized for items that are out of sight, usually in ceiling tiles, up above the ceiling tiles as it relates to cables and infrastructure and so forth. So that allows the opportunity to get things up to speed in terms of current in and around our infrastructure. So we look forward to that as well.
This is for action, so I'm ready for a motion if someone wants to.
I move the board approve the Apple lease renewal.
Is there discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brings us to our demographer selection.
So as a continuation of Steve's operations report in and around the update with Liberty North High School and that addition being finalized, as well as the progress being made at the Performing Arts Center at Liberty High School, and subsequent projects that we've relayed to you tied to the last bond issue, we now find ourselves going back to the drawing board. So as we've shared with you this spring, pieces of that process coming forward to the board for your consideration in the form of recommendations. The first of which would be tied to an RFP that we pushed out a while back in and around demographic study, and either confirming our trajectory that we've seen and looked at very closely tied to the last facilities master plan and bond issue, or perhaps changing course a little bit, whether it's plateauing, increasing, or slowing down. So we want to go back to assess what our demographic growth looks like. So we'll turn it over to Steve to share in and around the recommendation to move forward with a new demographic study.
Sure, not much else to add, other than this is, as you all know, a very important step in this process, and we're looking at enrollment projections. We had them look out about 10 years. They're very uncomfortable going beyond 3, but we push them to go to 10 just to get a little bit of a sense of kind of that long-term view of what enrollment looks like throughout the district. We had 3 firms put in proposals for this, and as mentioned, we had the last go-round, we had Business Information Services that actually did quite a good job for us, but they actually showed a different trajectory over the next few years, kind of a slower growth pattern, which really changes much of, I think, our thinking, at least how we've handled and looked at this in the past as a district. So one of the other applicants that put in is Applied Economics. They've worked with us in the past quite a bit. I think they've done maybe 3 or 4 cycles with the district. So we thought we'd bring them in again to take a fresh look. They actually came in at the lowest cost as well, which we appreciated. So we expect them to, as soon as this is official, then they'll get to work, hoping that we start to get some results from them in May. And then just as a reminder, we've already done our financial projections. This is the next big piece. We will soon put out an RFP for architectural services in and around the facility master planning process. So we'll just keep rolling with that process and keep you updated along the way. But again, this is an extremely important part of kind of shaping that next plan for the district. And with that, I can take any questions.
Questions or comments?
Good. I should have asked this separately. I mean, the 2020 census obviously is going to be a big impact to this potentially. I see it as exhibit here. He's got the 2010 census. Do we have any idea of how that kind of impacts the work?
You know, some of the conversation, it's obviously an important tool, but they do these annualized updates to the census. I can't remember the term, what it's called, but that's probably a more important document that they utilize. But then that's one of maybe, 7 or 8, 9 tools that they use to form up their analysis. This one, it lags as well, right? So this will come after, the 20 census information will come after this report is done. We do have within this contract the ability to kind of re-up next year, to have them kind of dust off and maybe look at those census numbers and apply into his report. So we'll have that opportunity to do that next year.
Okay, good.
Other questions or comments on that item?
This is for action as well. Someone wants to make a motion?
I move the board approve the Applied Economics Agreement.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion
All right, our final item of unfinished business is a secondary course proposal.
So you have an attached document that kind of spells out request of the board to approve the Education Internship Program Career Exploration Course. So I've asked Dr. Moore to share out on that item. So, Dr. Moore.
At the study session, I mentioned an education academy, and this course would be part of that program. So Melissa Taylor and I have been working on how to prepare students who might be interested in a career in education, just to give them a little bit more experience. And so what we put together is a list, obviously, of courses that the students could take. This course would be the precursor to EIP internship, and students would learn about teaching practices, and then they would have mentor teachers within the district, and they would go out maybe 1 to 2 times a week, as opposed to a full-blown internship, and look for early childhood through middle school, kind of see what it is that they might be interested in doing. And then they could go and move right into the EIP their senior year. Students who would take this course, it's a semester course, would then not have to fill out an application to be part of the EIP internship program. They would just automatically get in and have this foundational information.
Any questions of Dr. Moore?
Just a comment, I think it dovetails right into the Grow Your Own, so
Sure.
it rounds it out.
Ready for a motion?
I move the board adopt the Education Internship Program Career Exploration Course proposal.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Includes unfinished business. We've got one item of new business, and that's a student success data dashboard.
So this item is shared with you this evening for first read and is attributed to the work that we're doing around our Children's Services Fund, but then also tied to our strategic plan in and around multi-tiered systems of support. So a while back, we put together an RFP to pull together a dashboard to assist with the various pieces tied to the multi-tiered systems of support work. A couple of shout outs, specifically Dr. Meisenheimer, Christopher Han, Beth Heidi, and a slew of others that have been working on this for some time now. They were not able to be here this evening, but have equipped Dr. Westfall to speak in great depth around this work. We do contract already with Panorama, who we're recommending moving forward for this component, and that is specifically around some surveying that we do with our students around social emotional learning. Dr. Meisenheimer oversees that work, as well as the Children's Services Fund. We thought it would be valuable at our March study session to bring her forward and share and have the board brought up to speed on what is provided through the Children's Services Fund. And knowing that we're getting ready to submit an updated grant application for the next cycle with the Children's Services Fund. I believe that deadline is March 16th. To give you a little bit of a preview of what that will look like. But again, if you're not familiar, the Children's Services Fund was passed a couple years ago now, to be able to provide support in and around mental health for school districts in the Clay County area. When we talk about mental health needs, we've messaged this for some time, and that's a growing area of concern among young people at all ages and from all walks of life. And it's not unique just to Liberty Public Schools. It's statewide, it's regional, it's national. And when we are able to message and tell the story of the Children's Services Fund, there are districts that are salivating, so to speak, and that they are bound by not being able to do anything. Whereas Jackson County, St. Charles County, Clay County are the three counties in Missouri that have that similar structure. So we feel very blessed to be able to provide that service for pre-K, elementary, middle, as well as high school students. I wanted to ask Dr. Westfall to share the kind of an overview of this proposal that we'll be bringing back to you in March for your final consideration.
One of the things that the team wanted to know was the top 3 reasons why they really felt like the Panorama connection was the strongest, and really the fact that it provided a quick integration of our data, which is something that while the others did it, they did not do it immediately. So like we can really turnkey it. The data will fill in the very next day. We would have access to that information. The nice thing is it connects right to Panorama, so that data is already in the system. The second reason was the tracker system for the interventions created a clear picture so that it makes it easy for teachers to access. So it's really not very practical. We have this great dashboard, but teachers are struggling to actually utilize it every day and monitor what the students are doing, right? So if we say the student has need for this certain support, but the teacher can't get to it or understand how to utilize it, then it's really not a practical choice, even though it's a nice system. And then the third reason was we know about the professional development that comes with Panorama. We've experienced it this whole year with our SEL information, and it's top-notch. They've supported us very quickly. We have a 24/7 health support system. So we felt like those 3 reasons were the best. Bright Lights was the second choice, and the part that they did not provide was the monitoring system. So that was something that just wasn't available, and you could probably easily pay $15,000 to $30,000 for us to do that. So like, we felt like this was the whole package with our information.
The other piece that either of those proposals would have allowed for would be really the sunsetting of our existing dashboard that we worked to create in and around our school district report card that allows for searchable access in and around academic and financial information to be able to integrate that into this Panorama system. We'll realize some savings there, but look to try to update that into those 3 elements that we've identified in our new report card that account for the academic piece, that social emotional piece. What we'll want to explore with Panorama, they don't know this yet, is the opportunity to develop a real-world learning element and how we navigate those metrics. So there may likely be another RFP to come forward or in partnership with the Kauffman Foundation to be able to problem solve around tracking and managing the real-world learning components. So stay tuned on that piece. Questions around this topic or this item, or comments we can direct to Dr. Westfall?
This is not just for social emotional learning capture, it's academic as well. All right, sir.
And we'll have opportunity to share further at the study session, but then you'll see it again in March as we bring it forward for second read and potential action.
concludes new business, and then we move on to our list of upcoming meetings. And if you, below the meetings coming up, if you'll take a look there, there are some showcase items that we can attend at some of the schools, the dates and times listed there. Any questions on the meeting dates? Move to board remarks. Any remarks? All right. Then we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
I move the board adjourn. Second.
Had me worried there for a second. All right. We did get done pretty quick tonight. Roll call, please.
AJ,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Kim Marie,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes, we are adjourned.